good to be talked about. I don't think there's a such thing as like bad publicity to a point. But somebody talk about me getting traded. That's a lot.
Where do you stand as far as long-term future, hopefully otherwise, with the Miami?
Who knows?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like somebody who is optimistic about their current situation where they are right now. It seems like Jimmy Butler is on the way out, either this season or just in the near future in general. This is his 6th season with the Miami Heat. He joined the team in the 2019-20 season. That year, they went to the NBA Finals. They were a 5th seed in the East, made it that far, which is incredible. And he lost to a team that had, in my opinion, the 2nd greatest player of all time in NBA history, LeBron James, with an all-time power forward who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, I would assume, too. Anthony Davis, of course. Then 3 years later, as a 7th seed in the East, they go into play-in, they win, and end up going all the way to the NBA Finals again and get bounced out by a team that has Nikola Jokic, who right now has 3 MVPs, maybe 4, the way he's averaging these 30-point triple-doubles. My whole point is Jimmy Butler, he deserves his credit for what he did with the Miami Heat in this kind of short time too. With that being said, let's get into the meat and potatoes of what's going on between Shams saying that Jimmy Butler wants to trade and his agent denying that, to say the least.
I'm told that Jimmy Butler's agent has indicated in league circles that he would be open to the Dallas Mavericks, Houston Rockets, 2 of the Texas teams, and the Golden State Warriors in a potential trade as the Heat are listening to offers. But another team that Butler's agent Bernie Lee has indicated recently that Butler is open to, the Phoenix Suns.
Ooh.
Sources told me today. And you think about what Jimmy Butler wants, a win-now contending situation. There's been no other win-now team more than these Phoenix Suns. You think about their salary cap bill, what they've done with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal going all in. So keep a very close eye on the Phoenix Suns.
That was Shams on NBA Countdown just after he tweeted out the Phoenix Suns are another team that Jimmy Butler's agent Bernie Lee has indicated in league circles that the 6-time All-Star is open to as a destination, while Miami listens to trade offers. Sources tell ESPN joining Dallas, Houston, and Golden State, as he explained. Well, Jimmy Butler's agent fired back at Shams, and this is what he had to say on X. All right, listen, I gave you a pass yesterday because I was busy, but if you don't stop putting my name on your complete and utter made-up BS, because you know you normally aren't worth my time to acknowledge. I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm a middle-aged dad, but just know it would indicate severe dislike. Let me pause right there before I continue. Y'all could read in between the lines. That sounds like a very coded message. I don't want to make this too messy. All right, let's continue. World. All this is fabricated. I've never, and honestly, it wouldn't help me or the position I represent to do anything that's been reported by said journalist that he has in quotations. Shams, this is your opportunity to say my bad. I let ChatGPT write my tweets and it went old school Peter Vesey. In brackets he has Shams. Peter was a writer in the 90s. Bracket. Be a trendsetter. Invent the new. I was hacked. Carry on all. Thank you. Now this reminds me of what Jaylen Brown was talking about with who are all these sources, state the source, and then the journalists say, hey man, we can't do that. The sources is how we rate these stories. We get it from credible people. But you never know who it is, and that doesn't also mean that it can't be something that is not entirely true. In other words, you may have been fed some bad information. However, the one thing that I do notice in these tweets is that he didn't deny Butler wanting a trade necessarily. He kind of stepped himself away from it, but there was nothing explicitly that said Jimmy Butler wants to be in Miami. This is where he wants to stay. And based off of the video I just played y'all at the very beginning with Butler, it doesn't seem like that either. At the moment, as I make this video, the Miami Heat are 12-10, 5th in the East, which isn't that bad if you look at the Eastern Conference 1 through 8. Outside of the Brooklyn Nets, who are a few games under 500 in the 8th spot, the East is pretty decent. Every team is above 500 and they're competing. And Jimmy Butler himself is averaging about 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I think Miami just probably reached a point where it's like, all right, given the huge contract Butler's on, making about $50 million a year, do we think this is a team that's going to get back to an NBA Finals and make another heroic run that is unexpected? So keep in mind, if he is traded, it'll be after December 15th because there's still players in the NBA who are under trade restrictions given their contract. They cannot be traded until that date. Let's go over some of the teams that Shams reported Butler was interested in and how it helps the Miami Heat as well as the other team. We can start with the Phoenix Suns. Any trade that happens with them got to be surrounded by Bradley Beal. Even without the trade restrictions I was mentioning, they can't just add a bunch of contracts up from what I'm seeing here and trade Butler without giving up Bradley Beal. And also, this would help Phoenix Suns, give them more perimeter defense. They do have Royce O'Neal, Josh Okogie. Adding Butler to the mix wouldn't hurt as well. They would give up some three-point shooting since Butler is not known for his perimeter game outside beyond the arc on offense. But how much more shooting do you need if you're the Phoenix Suns based on the way this roster is constructed? It would be better, in my opinion, to have more of a versatile offensive player as your third option as opposed to someone who's just standing in the corner kind of waiting for a swing pass. Butler is a mid-range guy, slashes to the basket. I think that will open up more options for the Phoenix Suns if they were willing to make the necessary changes in their offense. That would be the key part. If they try to play him like Bradley Beal, then this is not going to work. On the flip side, Beal going to Miami in the inverse works a lot more. He's going to have the ball in his hands almost like a Washington Wizards days where he's the focal point of the offense, or at least him and Tyler Hero. Miami struggles sometimes on offense. Their calling card is defense. That other side of the court, I think Bradley Beal would fit in perfectly. And of course, I'm assuming there will be other players that are involved in this trade. We're just talking about the main pieces here. The only thing I would be concerned about with this trade for the Heat, what do you look like in the playoffs? I think in the regular season, this is a great move. Bradley Beal on the Heat is going to give you more than 20 points, I would assume, in comparison to Butler. But Butler, on the other hand, in the postseason, he steps his game up a lot when it comes to scoring and still gives you a lot of great defense. That's one thing I would keep in mind. Overall, though, this is not a trade I'm overly excited about. I'm just laying out why it could possibly work. Let's move along to another team that was reported by Shams that Jimmy Butler would be interested in, and that is the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know how this one works. This made me even more confused. I'm assuming Klay Thompson wouldn't be involved. Let's say that he is, though. I don't like the combination either way of Jimmy Butler, Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving. You need a space floor with two guys that are that ball dominant, who dribble, penetrate, and like to create their own shot with the ball in their hands. Adding Butler to that offense just wouldn't work. But if it's not Klay Thompson, the trade would have to be centered around their next biggest contract, obviously outside of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, which would be PJ Washington at $15 million approximately. They could package him with some other guys. I still don't believe that's a good move as well. PJ Washington is their only power forward or their best guy at that position. They have Maxi Kleber. The way they use PJ, though, they have him in that dunker spot in the paint, posted up sometimes, instead of just having him on the three-point line out there with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. It gives them another variation offensively, and then PJ himself could still shoot the three. He's also a good defender. Again, just in terms of balance, I don't like this trade seeing Butler go to the Mavericks. The trade that I do like the most that enticed me was the Golden State Warriors. They have a whole bunch of role players and pieces. They could sacrifice one or two. They go 10, 12 deep, as Steve Kerr talked about with his rotations. So you give up a couple of guys, make the contracts work, and go get a Jimmy Butler. It would have to involve Andrew Wiggins as well. That's okay. As long as they don't trade away any of their other key shooters like a Buddy Hield, Brandon Podziemski, though I've seen reports that they're very high on him, so I don't think they would. A Lindy Waters. This could work. The spacing in the starting lineup with Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, it could get a little bit clogged, but you got the greatest shooter of all time right there. I think Steve Kerr would be creative enough to make that work, whether that's bringing in somebody else in the starting lineup that I mentioned who could shoot and add that more spacing. Finally, Houston was the other team. That one doesn't make much sense to me either. You got Jalen Green already at the two-guard spot. You add Jimmy Butler. I'm assuming the trade would surround Dillon Brooks, Steven Adams. You match contracts up. But even then, okay, you play small ball. You have all of them in the lineup. I don't know how that works. Y'all let me know, though. Do you see Jimmy Butler being traded this year or next year? Is he going to decline his player option, become a free agent? Hit me up in the comment section. Do you believe his agent that this is all just cap and he doesn't really want to trade, or at least the agent is making it out to be that he didn't give a list of teams that Butler would be interested in? Hit me up in the comment section. I want to know. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, salute for listening. Peace.